You just wouldn't get the good old potion of mutation bender parties down in Zot. Exactly. It's so you gotta have been there kind of deal, you know? Everything seems ridiculous from the outside perspective. Okie dokie, let's see what kind of a haul we have here. Unfortunately, most of it ended up being hot garbage, but that's fine, not the end of the world. Does get us all of this floor for now. I don't know if it's really worth our time to get into the thick of it with these kiddos as well. I also see some doors in here. I guess even on this side of things, doors seem to leak in to the realm a bit. Interesting that even Zom's power is not the mightiest of magic, because the stone wall, unfazed, unscuffed, and unaffected completely by even Zot's chaotic casting. I was trying to think of alliteration. It was right there, and I still was struggling and fumbling with it at the end zone, but that's fine. Okie dokie. Maybe for now. Oh, you know, I was going to say maybe for now we will go up and try and find another stairwell, and I just noticed looking at the map, this doesn't come from upstairs at all, or there's no entrance from the first floor of depths. So I guess downwards we go, and hopefully we're ready to deal with what the dungeon deals here today. Not too shabby. I did very recently try out for the first time a little bit of Diceomancer. My partner bought it for me, thinking I'd really like it just because of how obsessed I was and still kind of am with Slay the Spire. Very fun game. Haven't played that much of it. The one big shift I find between Slay the Spire and Diceomancer is that Diceomancer has a lot going on mechanically. So it's a little bit overwhelming at first. Maybe Slay the Spire would be too, especially if you jumped in, you know, in the modern era with all 4 characters unlocked. Because I learned it in steps, you know, in early access, it was just the Ironclad and the Silent. Pretty straightforward characters, strength, defense, you know, poison, all pretty standardized things, I guess, in the video gaming world. It's funny how the language of video games works. So maybe that is a perspective or a take kind of based off of my experiences with the latter there, but nonetheless, I'm excited to try a bit more of it and see if it keeps holding up, if I do keep enjoying it to that level, because it's definitely up my alley. Especially since the one mechanic where it strongly differs from Slay the Spire is the Diceomancy part, which I find so creative. For anyone who hasn't seen anything about the game, essentially there's a mechanic called the One Die. Oof, forgetting the nomenclature of it, but it's essentially an effect. You can use it, and you can change any number on the screen. And when I first read that, I was like, okay, sure, you're like changing the damage on a card, you're maybe doing this or that. I did not expect to immediately try to use it and get overwhelmed with the fact that when it says any number, it means any number on the screen. And I really like that concept, and I hope that it has a lot of legs as I continue to get a little bit more experience into the game. Oh, and there's our arcane portal. Now, I was strongly debating if we were going to be using a revelation scroll, but does not seem to be necessary here today. And so anyway, we just started blasting. Fantastic. Well, how are we feeling? I mean, we can probably take on an arcane portal. At the very least, we could peek in, and these are generally areas that are fairly straightforward to leave if you see that it's, you know, one of the arcane domains that is antithetical to our, you know, continued survival. and all of that. But I am going to just pull up on the other monitor here. What is it? Wizard Lab. That's what these are called, right? And let's see which one we're dealing with. Haze Tomb. So I would guess largely undead enemies. How am I feeling about undead? Probably not grand at the moment. I mean, they'll be unaffected by Mephitic Cloud. I guess not many undead have lightning or electricity resistance. There's maybe something to be said for that. But let's do a quick check-in. This is something that I always like to suggest to folks as well. Whenever in doubt, especially going into the Wiz Labs, which have, you know, a plethora of options that can show up, I'd always recommend just pulling it up on, you know, even just the wiki, and doing a quick look. Because immediately we see Haze Tomb is an extremely dangerous wizard laboratory. Yikes. Let's see, we have 4 doors, beyond that small foyer with 2 exits, massive chamber. And the main issue here is being overwhelmed by multiple dangerous opponents, which that is a problem for us. We're very much set up here. I mean, we have Orb of Zot as our only AoE, and it's very situationally usable. So probably happy to just get out of here. I don't really want to be fighting a bunch of mummies. I do want some digging charges though. And some free scrolls of revelation while I'm at it. Don't mind if I do. Oh me oh my. I find it so hard to say goodbye. Oh, wait a second. I remember. My brain is unlocking long forgotten pieces of the puzzle here. Because we have all these little chambers. I believe each of these chambers has an enemy inside of it. And then at a certain point, and I don't remember what the catalyst is, these crack open. Am I remembering this is the right place? I guess, you know, I tell you to always look things up and be in the know. And then I continue to not actually read through the entirety of the article here. But that's fine. If you're going to stay, consider staying by the exit. Yeah. It's a reasonably functional choke point here at the entrance. Don't tell me twice. If you have means of digging, you can make this death trap considerably safer. Opening the tombs prematurely will allow you to dispose of them one at a time. Okay, it is all the little tombs. Interesting. Well, how much digging do we have? 12 charges on the wand here. I mean, I probably don't really want to burn through all of those. Those are generally really nice to have when you're doing the orb run at the very end of the adventure here. I should just leave. My brain's like struggling to come up with any oblique reasoning as to why this is not the case, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that this is just probably not what we're set up to do here. Immediately have a juggernaut zombie ruin our lives. I mean, the lightning spire does do a pretty good job. Stay because fun. See, now there's a statement that speaks to my heart there. You're not wrong. Walls briefly shake. Okay, so we're continuing to break down the barriers that divide us. I'd like to stay here. Walls violently shake. Are we gonna face the music? Hello? I am deeply concerned about continuing my trek inwards. Again, if you all could be so kind, there we go. When it looks from the description like all of the tombs are probably open now. Sir, they are. Well, Orb of Destruction for your trouble. As long as I can sneak one through the gap here, which is in no way guaranteed. Let's see, is there anything else I can throw at the problem here? I don't really want to use Gavote in this context because we can't get most of them and it will take us off of our escape path here as well. Ah, we're going to get pulled off of it anyway. Right, I kind of forgot that they updated that son of a gun. Also, I think we need to just murder off that summoning demon, or the shadow demon, whatever the heck you were, my friend, as quickly as possible to get rid of all those summons. And then what to do with you. You know what? I'm feeling overly confident. Whether or not that is a valid response will, you know, allow time to determine here. But needless to say, my unreasonable level of self-confidence will serve to make things interesting, if nothing else. And I mean, so far, this honestly isn't too bad. I should have probably kept looking through to see if there is kind of a kind of pseudo mega boss. You know, so oftentimes these time portals in general, but especially here in the Wiz Labs. Constricted by a spectral anaconda. Well, that's never ideal. That's probably an okay time to disperse these sons of guns, and as long as we can take out this revenant, then we are sitting pretty. Can I launch anything at just such an angle? I can indeed. And there we go. Revenant taken care of. This choke point is kind of working, not as, you know, the usual kind of application of a choke point in this game, which is to face enemies one by one, but instead is just making it very straightforward for our Orbs of Destruction to unerringly hit the target. Just fantastic stuff. Let's wait here as long as it takes to try and ensure some level of security. And yeah, it's those death curses that will get you, of course. And what's going on here? Scroll of Acquirement. Okay, I'm glad that we ended up staying. Thanks, Ice Fury, for the final little push to, you know, embrace my own secret desires and just go for it. Just see how she goes. What's the worst that can happen, right? But okay, Acquirement. I mean, a Manual of Shields might actually be... Ooh, I was going to say might actually be the go-to here. I didn't realize that we had already gotten our shields up to 15, so we're good to go with a Kite Shield. Maybe still something to be said for switching up to a Tower Shield as we continue into the later section of this run. Otherwise, money? I mean, I guess if we want to buy enchant armor scrolls, then yes, money will be a factor, but otherwise, probably good to just not worry about it. I was supposed to empty my inventory a bit before coming in here. That was a critical mistake, though one that we are often making here on the channel, so probably not too shocking to any of you folks. I mean, I could just have another Amulet of Reflection sitting around somewhere outside, so maybe that's fine. Oh, a double acquirement. Another acquirement, you say. Also as much branding of weapons as we could possibly wish for. Not too shabby. Enchant weapon. Now this is something that we have basically no use for as the run continues on here. I mean, even the brand weapons technically kind of fall into the same camp. But they're, you know, interesting enough. Oh, we're boring. Boring our friend here, my bad. Well, I think what we're gonna do is we've already kind of picked up all the goodies. Ooh. Miscast dispersal. That's not great, my friend. Well, we're stuck here until we're able to move again, at least. Yikes. When you say can't move, game, how committed are you? Let's find out. Okay, so I still can move if I'm magically inclined to do so. But let's get the heck out of there. Fantastic. Right, I dropped the reflective amulet that I was debating picking back up on the way out, but that's fine. Let's not worry too much about it. Let's try to do something interesting, hey? Because apologies, Sam. I want nothing more than to be an interesting plaything for your whims and wills, but unfortunately, sometimes the treasure loot bug inside of me just wants to, you know, get into the weeds of things and check it all out. So I apologize for that. Let's bring you downstairs. Bit of confusion to warm you up. And not too shabby. Let's try that again. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Well, somehow, even though we didn't switch into the heavy armor, we're finally seeing failures crop up left and right. In fact, yeah, the Gels Vote, we failed on a 1% chance. Right there, we just failed our 3% check as well. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Well, just keep blasting and shouldn't be too much of a concern at the end of the day here. Beautiful. And so on and so forth. Repeat until the cows come home. Of course, any Spriggans can get the poison treatment just to try to ensure some level of safety and security. Are you? Yeah, you're not resistant to poison. Sir, you were supposed to be confused, excuse me? I was promised some confusion, you see. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Okay, we get our antenna growing back here, so we immediately lose our lovely artifact helmet. Is a shame, but not the end of the world. I mean, we went through the majority of that run just lugging it around in our backpack and not being able to use it anywho, so nothing has changed. Fantastic. Don't think I need this int ring. No, I'm pretty happy. I mean, this ring could get traded out for sure. Probably wouldn't just be for a stat ring though. I'd be looking for something that gives like fire resistance, maybe even some electricity resistance. You know, would be nice. Would be quite swell and lovely, but that's fine. Go forth and redecorate child indeed. Thank you, Zom, for the permission. That's all I needed, really. The slightest push forward, and I'm more than happy to get redecorating here. Nothing gets the juices going quite like it's a bit of you know, late stage dungeon renovating here. Do need to talk to Zot and get a bit of a handle on, you know, what kind of style and design will make this dungeon house a dungeon home, you know? And again, I'm probably playing this a little fast and loose. I shouldn't be fooling around and even getting down to like 50 HP against a single enemy here, but I'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? It's not like we could possibly lose. This is unlosable run here, of course. Just incredible work by Kaos. But one thing I would like to do, so let's actually settle this acquirement debate, because we do want to see what the secondary acquirement scroll has in store for us here. I mean, going up a nice amount of gold doesn't seem terrible. It's between the shields or the gold. Don't really have anything I want to buy, so maybe it will be shields, even if we don't end up using it. It at the very least opens up the potential for tower shield play if we do decide to go down that route in the future. But more importantly, let's see what our secondary check here does. Fencer's gloves, probably not incredible for us, right? AC goes down a bit. You can riposte with melee weapons if anything misses or blocks us with melee attacks. There's something to be said for this. I mean, obviously, you generally are going to be using the Fencer's Gloves on a defensive or on a dex-based character, rather. So somebody that is going to be dodging a lot. As is, we're probably going to get hit most of the time. I guess if we go up to a tower shield, maybe not. But the tricky bit here for me is not necessarily the Fencer's Gloves, because I think a huge part of that is just I see an unran dart, I want to take an unran dart, even if it's not a perfect match. But the other thing that has captured my attention, of course, is the Manual of Armor. That will help us train up and get the last little bit going here in order to switch into the orange crystal plate. So, you know, as much as I want to take the Fencer's Gloves, I think that is an interesting and fun choice, I'm going to take the manual, and we're just going to get these defensive skills chugging along here in no time. In fact, I imagine that armor skill goal is going to be hit sooner rather than later. Beautiful. What kind of shield did you have, my friend? Oh, nothing too interesting going on. One of the few things that would potentially keep us in a buckler here is if I get something with reflection brand on it. I mean, it's still not ideal, seeing as how we don't have the shielding score with the buckler to really be, you know, going too out of control with the old reflex, but is still just always awesome. You gotta love when you get the reflection brand on a shield. You know, keep your necklace slot open for, I mean, what will likely just be regeneration on pretty much any character. Okay, perfect. I can still wear soft hats, so we at least don't have to continue forward into the depths. Feeling naked here. We can instead have a nice little cap going on here. Dashing cap, if you ask me, really. Just incredible stuff. Okie dokie. I mean, maybe we'll do another check as well. What kind of shields do we even have access to? On the kite shield front? Not a lot. Same with tower shield, unfortunately. So we'll see. That may or may not ever pan out into something more than what we're currently dealing with here, but it's nice to know that we have options and that we'll be able to train into that pretty dang quickly. You know, if we do end up deciding that route is in the cards for us.